Welcome to Front Office Pros. I'm Steve, and this is Joe. We've been breaking down all the trades that just transpired over the trade deadline, which was absolutely wacky. I think it was the most trades maybe ever or we've seen in quite some time, which is a really exciting sight to see. But we're going to be talking about tight end TJ Hockenson. He goes from the Detroit Lions to the Minnesota Vikings, which is quite rare to see a team trade within their own division. Joe, what are your thoughts on TJ Hockenson going to the Vikings?
Yeah, man, this was the first trade I believe I had texted you like, wow, trade. I did not expect TJ Hockenson to be moved. One because, didn't even know who their backup tight end was that the Lions even had until we were talking before the recording of this. So that was surprising. And then they Vikings hadn't really released the status of Irv Smith yet either. So I mean, once you realize he's out the 8 to 10 weeks and they're gonna have to put him on IR, you completely understand why they're doing this trade. But I mean, TJ Hockenson owners, when they saw that tweet this morning and stuff, they had to be like, yeah, man, he's out of Detroit because he's a talented tight end, and the Lions just weren't using him for whatever reason. Only was mainly had the big weeks this year when Amon-Ra St. Brown was out, and then the collection of other receivers that were also out. He took advantage of that. But yeah, I think he's going to be utilized in Minnesota, and I'd be really excited if I had him.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. They must have a really good rapport, the two GMs from Detroit and Minnesota, because they had that draft day trade that allowed Detroit to move up and get Jamison Williams, which was
Mm,
quite shocking. Obviously, Minnesota trade back and ended up getting Lewis Seen, but you just don't see those type of trades. This is now the second, I would say. I mean, it's not a blockbuster, but it's a pretty loaded trade
yeah.
between two division rivals. I'm with you. If I'm a Hockenson owner, I'm feeling really good about this. You saw Kevin O'Connell, do what he did within LA. And to me, you saw the emergence of Tyler Higbee last year. I know they had Gerald Everett before as well. I think he'll be able to feature Hockenson more than he was able to do before being in Detroit. And so, I mean, they just weren't using him, like you said. So to me, I'm really excited of the potential of Hockenson within Minnesota's offense. I know they have a lot of pieces there. You got Jefferson, you got Thielen, but really, I mean, besides that, their offensive. I mean, Osborne's been okay. I think there's definitely room for him to be involved in this offense. He's a good blocker coming out of Iowa, and he has receiving skills. With Irv Smith going down, I really like this for TJ Hockenson.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, man, I love this for DJ Hockenson. I mean, he's got to be excited and ecstatic to, I mean, one, go on a winning team, but two, to actually maybe get some passes thrown his way. It's got to be so frustrating for him with the Lions to just not be utilized like that.
Well, so let's talk about it on the Detroit side first. I find it quite puzzling. They accepted his fifth-year option, and now they're trading him. To me, it must mean that they didn't want to pay him. They must have had contract negotiations. They were talking about it, and they just weren't on the same page. I mean, can you think of any? I mean, I know they did. They got a second and a third, so it's not nothing. Second this year, a third in 2024. I mean, what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it really is interesting. I mean, kind of would have expected a team to do this if they didn't accept the fifth year option. Like we've seen other teams like the Raiders not do with their players. But yeah, just weird. I mean, you accept the fifth year option, then you go and trade them. I mean, like you said, it wasn't like it was insignificant with the second and the third. I mean, this regime didn't draft him, drafted in 2019 while Patricia was still the head coach. They had Bob Quinn as a GM. So obviously, just Higginson, for whatever reason, isn't their guy, which he seems to. I would have thought he was a Dan Campbell guy, though. I mean, Hawkinson's a big physical tight end. Would have thought that's what he would have wanted. He's also, I mean, he's a guy we've seen. He's made big plays before, run after the catch and such. So I really kind of confused,
Well,
honestly.
Campbell was a tight end coach in Miami, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even
In
tight
New
ends coach in
Orleans.
Miami, and then yeah, New Orleans. I think he spent some time there as tight ends coach, and then at some point, I believe they made him offensive coordinator or something as well
Well,
before
just
he
I,
became.
my only reason for mentioning is because it's kind of his specialty. So you would think, I mean, if that
Well, he
was
was a tight end himself.
there you go. So interestingly enough, I didn't know that, but interestingly enough, for him to trade, I mean, what do they have left behind? Like you said, Brock Wright is a undrafted guy. I mean, I can't see him being in the future. And they drafted that James Mitchell, I believe, out of Virginia Tech in the 5th round. So I have to think that those guys, they can't be looking at their, team makeup and saying we're building around these guys. I have to think they're going to be going elsewhere in the future. So at this point, the tight end room for Detroit is just going to be absent, and his vacated targets for the ones that he did have. Maybe they go to Jameson Williams coming back. He'll be getting healthy here shortly. Maybe they'll just be targeting the receivers. What do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they barely targeted the tight end position with Hockenson there. So I definitely think that's going to continue. They're going to still target the wide receiver position heavily. And like you said, once Williams comes in, which looks like we might be a couple weeks away from, once that does happen, they'll just continue to target the receivers. I maybe that's just a point of the Lions offense where they just want to target receivers and don't necessarily care to target the tight end position and just prefer the tight ends to block for the run game. I don't know.
Now, thinking about it for the Minnesota side, I think, obviously we talked about how I think he could be integrated the offense. I think he's going to help the offense as a whole, but specifically about Irv Smith from a dynasty perspective. I mean, he's had nagging injuries now his entire career. I'm not his career, asking if his career is over is a stretch, but from a dynasty standpoint, I mean, do you even roster him at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to roster him this point. I mean, the value of Irv Smith definitely goes way down. I mean, is he a free agent at the end of this
Yeah,
year?
he's a free agent, so he could go to another team. And I guess you just put him on your IR. We'll see what happens. But I don't know, makes it tough.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, he's a guy who's battled through injuries the last couple of years here. Everyone's always excited about him come draft time and around the preseason. Irv Smith, everyone likes it. There's no doubt the guy's talented and has the ability, but does he have the ability to stay on the field?
And that's what it's about, Joe. The best ability is availability.
Correct, man. I mean, I've said it a lot here, so.
Well, and I think with Hockenson, I would imagine with that, the amount of compensation that they gave up, I would think that they're going to extend him long term.
Oh, 100%. I don't think you give up a second and a third round pick to just do a rental here for the rest of the year. I mean, I definitely think they'll give him a chance because same thing for the Vikings. If it's not Hockenson, who else is it? And right. I don't think they're going to bring Irv Smith back. So, yeah, I would definitely think Hockenson's here to stay for at least a few more years there in Minnesota.
So we both believe that Hockenson's value is on the rise, and we just went through our breakdown of the Hockenson trade, going from Detroit to the rival Minnesota Vikings. And, we are a new channel. So if you really are enjoying this content, please, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell as we are creating more videos, and please send us a comment. Maybe you disagree with us. Go ahead, put a comment on there. We'd love to interact with new people and what we're saying. So thank you so much for watching. And if you like watching this, we've got a couple more trade videos that we're reacting to. So watch a few more, and until next time.